Coming up on First at 4, the state auditor releases new information on the Kentucky Unemployment Insurance Program, including the fight against unemployment fraud. And Big Sandy RECC officials respond to outrage as people complain their electric bills keep going up.
Not a big deal, but we could see a few showers drop into the region by tonight. I'll have the very latest on the way. First at 4 is next.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, fraud remains a big problem with Kentucky's unemployment insurance system. Findings of a statewide audit released today detail thousands of dollars in claims paid that should not have been. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more from Frankfort.
The 116-page audit details finances from the state of Kentucky ending in June of last year. And the auditor tells me what stands out to him is the tens of thousands of dollars in fraud from the unemployment insurance system. The audit details 19 findings, and 9 of those deal with problems with unemployment insurance, specifically with fraud. Auditor Mike Harmon says 54 claimants put the Labor Cabinet or Commonwealth of Kentucky as their employer, and auditors took a random look at 13 of those, all of which were fraudulent.
A little over $195 million paid out to out-of-state claims. I think there was a little over 28,000 claims. We looked at a sample space of about 34, and of those 34, 15 of those were fraudulent.
Harmon is running for governor. It says his office is statutorily required to perform an annual audit. Governor Beshear says he hasn't seen the full audit yet, but said many of the unemployment problems started with the previous administration. Harmon says the good news is that some problems with security and internal control have been corrected, but he states that other issues to detect fraud still need work. In Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Now, it's not clear when people would receive refunds, but the bill does say they should be made within 90 days of the bill's passage. Harmon says this is the first part of the annual audit, and the second part will be released in a few months. Folks across the region are outraged at electric bills they have received in the last few weeks, saying climbing costs are putting a strain on their budget. Now, one company is taking the time to explain. Officials with the Big Sandy Rural Electric Cooperative say fuel prices, including natural gas, have nearly doubled during the last 3 months of 2021. Along with increasing fuel costs, colder weather is driving up kilowatt hours for thousands of homes, which combined could account for the increase Big Sandy RECC members may be seeing.
January was extremely cold. We had 24 days out of the 31 days that didn't get above 32 degrees for the highs, which causes heat pumps and electric furnaces to run extremely more than usual, which causes kWh usage to go up.
We heard a similar response from Kentucky Power when we talked to them about raising bills. We will have more from Davis and other officials coming up tonight at 6.
We'll say in many spots we really haven't needed the heat so far this week. Yeah, we had some cold conditions to start, but we're slowly warming things up, and I think you won't need the heat at all by the time we get toward the end of the week. The weekend, that's a different story. I-64 at Moorhead this afternoon. Market increase in cloud cover compared to where we were yesterday as we continue to see a weak system heading in our direction. Downtown Whitesburg, though, still plenty of sunshine, a busy main street out there at the moment. Sitting at 50, but look at that. West-southwest winds making it feel much warmer, into the low 60s in some spots. Temperatures remain on the milder side, middle and upper 50s around the area. In fact, Jacksboro knocking on 60's door. I think we're going to be let into the 60-degree room, if you will, as we head over the next few days, because we've got some warmer air on the way. A few showers trying to push through. Not a lot of that's making it to the ground. We don't have a ton of moisture in the air, but something to keep an eye on. Keep the WYMT weather app handy, though. If you are headed out tonight, make sure you've got that so you can get the latest information when it comes to some of the radar data. If we do happen to see a few showers tonight, we're going to continue to see Temperatures drop, though, only into the upper 30s for many as we head into the nighttime hours. I'll have the latest on when we could see a few more showers work in come up in just a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. A sharp rift in the Republican Party over the January 6th attack has exploded into the open. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has rejected a party resolution referring to those events as legitimate political discourse, saying instead it was a violent insurrection. He also slammed the RNC for censuring 2 Republicans investigating the attack. CBS's Nicole Killian has more from Washington.
The highest-ranking Republican official in the Senate is making his stance clear when it comes to the deadly January 6th attack on the Capitol.
It was a violent insurrection for the purpose of trying to prevent the peaceful transfer of power.
Tuesday, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell criticized the Republican National Committee for censuring Wyoming's Liz Cheney and Illinois' Adam Kinzinger for serving on the House Select Committee investigating the insurrection. It was the language of the RNC resolution to censure members of its own party that struck a nerve, stating that Cheney and Kinzinger chose to join Nancy Pelosi in a Democrat-led persecution of ordinary citizens who engaged in legitimate political discourse. But members of the January 6th committee are firing back.
Ask the Capitol police officers if the people they interacted with were engaged in legitimate political discourse. It's just, you know, at a human level, it's just maddening.
5 people died after a pro-Trump mob breached the Capitol building after former President Trump made repeated false claims that the 2020 election was stolen. RNC Chair Ronna McDaniel claims the party's position is being distorted and wrote, "Violence is not legitimate political discourse, whether in the U.S. Capitol or in Democrat-run cities across the country."
The issue is whether or not the RNC should be sort of singling out members of our party who may have different views from the majority. That's not the job of the RNC.
House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy has dodged questions about the censure resolution, but Conference Chair Elise Stefanik says the RNC has every right to take any action. Some House Republicans want Cheney and Kinzinger expelled from the conference, but she told me it did not come up in their meeting this week. Nicole Killian, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Well, some good news on the COVID-19 front as national hospitalization rates continue to fall. The Department of Health and Human Services says hospitalizations have dropped below 100,000 for the first time in more than 1 month. Right now, COVID patients are using 99,925 beds. About 3 weeks ago, that number was 160,000. Overall, about 1 in 7 hospital patients are there for COVID-19 and 18,000 are in the intensive care unit. While significant, hospitalization rates are not the only number encouraging health leaders and lawmakers. Case counts themselves point to this surge ending, with cases now being down 69% from a peak of more than 800,000 on January 15th. But the CDC says other metrics are still too high and urges against reversing school mask mandates as many states pass or consider legislation to do so. Pfizer is working to help more people be able to use its COVID-fighting pill. Paxlovid is currently authorized to treat COVID-19 in high-risk people 12 years old and older. Pfizer is planning to study the drug in even younger children, targeting all ages that can currently receive a COVID vaccine. The pharmaceutical giant is also awaiting full approval from the FDA on the pill for the group it is currently authorized to treat. That decision is expected in the second half of this year. The COVID-19 pandemic is factoring into another health crisis for the United States, mental health issues. U.S. Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy testified during the Senate Finance Committee Tuesday, saying the uncertainty and fear caused by the pandemic are greatly impacting younger generations. The problem is so concerning, the American Academy of Pediatrics declared it a national emergency. Murthy is urging the Senate to support policies backing stronger access to mental health care and boost the mental health workforce. Let's head over to Wall Street now on this Wednesday. The Dow closes up today more than 305 points. We'll have more financial news in our next half hour. But when we return on First at 4, see how one company is making clothing people can actually wear out of plastic bottles.
And it's no winter storm, but we are tracking the potential for some light showers around the region starting tonight at the earliest. I'll have the very latest on the next.